We are all set, Mr. Mayor.
Very good. Good evening and welcome everybody to our City Council meeting for May 16th, 2020. We're calling the meeting to order at 7:03. And with that, we will go to the Pledge of Allegiance. And I've asked our Parks and Rec Director, Margaret Glomstead, to lead us.
Please rise. Place your hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ms. Glomstead. That was very well done. And with that, we will go to a roll call.
Councilmember O'Brien.
Present.
Councilmember Beach.
Here.
Councilmember Colson.
Here.
Vice Mayor Brownrigg.
Here.
Mayor Ortiz.
Here, thank you. And then with that, we'll do a report out from our closed session.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There was no reportable action.
Thank you. And then now I'm going to go to announcements, and I do have a couple of announcements. One that I'm just really happy to announce is we are going to have a ribbon cutting for our new community center on June 15th at 3:30. So love to see you there. It's going to be a great, it's been a long time coming, so we're real happy about that one. And on June 3rd, we have the first summer music concert with the House Rockers at 6 p.m. at Washington Park Ball Field. It's a different location, Margaret?
It's the same location where we did it during COVID. So we're keeping it out in the main ball field.
Perfect, thank you. And then I have from our library, I have an event where we're going to meet author Gregory Bonsignore via Zoom as he reads his new picture book, That's Betty. That's Friday, May 20th at 1 p.m. via Zoom, and registration is required. Visit the library events page. Colleagues, anybody else have any events coming up?
Mr. Mayor, I would just like to remind everyone that we are in the voting period for the midterm election. And at this point, if you have not received your ballot in the mail, you should contact the elections office and make sure that you get a new one sent to you so that you can get your ballot in before June 7th. Or by
Thank
June.
you, Madam City Clerk, who is all about elections. So thank you for that. I see our Director of Public Works, Mr. Mertusa, with his hand raised. Mr. Mertusa, do you have some events coming up?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have Public Works Week this week, started yesterday, and it will be on throughout this week. We have a Public Works staff that will be stationed right at the Farmers Market next Thursday for the community to stop by and look at what we do, and there will be some public education opportunities.
Thank you, Mr. Mertusa. It's important work, and so I encourage everybody to stop by at the Farmers Market and talk to our Public Works employees. Thank you, Mr. Mertusa. Anybody else? And with that, then we will move on to presentations, and we have two presentations. So first, I'm going to introduce our Sydney Bliss, who is our Recreation Coordinator, and she's going to introduce our Youth Advisory Committee. Ms. Bliss.
Hi, well, thank you so much for having me tonight. My name is Sydney Bliss. I'm a recreation coordinator. One of my program areas that I oversee is our Youth Advisory Committee, and I have had the pleasure of working with them over the last 6 months, and they are here tonight to present for you. So I'll let them go ahead and introduce themselves and share my screen. Who do we have? Liz on here? Liz, you can go ahead and start us off.
Do you want to go to the next slide?
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Okay. Hi, I'm Liz, and I'm a sophomore at Burlingame High School.
See your picture.
Hi, my name's Sylvie, and I'm also a sophomore at Burlingame High School.
Good evening. My name is Sophia, and I'm a freshman at Burlingame High School.
Hi, my name is Ethan. I'm a junior at Burlingame High School.
Hi, I'm Shireen, and I'm a senior at Burlingame High School.
Good evening. My name is Kylie and I am a senior at Burlingame High School.
Hi, I'm Shayna and I'm a junior at Burlingame High School.
Hi, I'm Ashley. I'm a sophomore at Burlingame High School. So in the past year with COVID and distance learning, many teenagers have struggled with their mental health. So our initiative this year for YAC is to educate and support teens all around Burlingame into ways to better their own mental health. And through our various events we have hosted, which you'll learn more about soon, our main goal is to prioritize the well-being of our teens and create an inclusive and sympathetic community for all.
So I'll talk a bit about our volunteering with the city. So throughout this year, YAC has helped out with various events the city has hosted. Last year, we volunteered at the Muddy Mile and were stationed to help kids throughout the course, as well as helping to hand out wristbands and get families checked in. More recently, we volunteered at the annual tree lighting where we passed out headbands, directed people, helped with the photo booth, and much more. Lastly, we volunteered at Night Under the Stars, the family camp out. And volunteering with the city has allowed YAC to make a presence in the community, and we love helping out whenever we can in any ways we can.
One of our first events of the year was the October fundraiser. October was an event in which different families in Burlingame could order goodie bags that had eggs, candy, and crafts in them. YAC's duty for this event was to assemble the bags and then deliver them to all different family houses. The event was a huge success, and it was a great way to put a smile on the Burlingame families during October.
As Ashley previously stated, teenagers have endured copious amounts of stress, especially when considering the strains made by the pandemic on their social lives and hobbies. With this in mind, we hosted Therapy in the Park and partnered with the Peninsula Humane Society to give the youth of Burlingame the opportunity to consult with local mental health professionals while also being able to unwind with some dog love. With this event, teenagers were able to go outside, socialize, and reunite with their community after being confined to isolation for quite some time. This was by far one of my best loved events, and I felt so honored to be able to help make this happen for the community.
This year, YAC was also able to host an hour-long Zoom movie discussion where we watched the movie Kindness is Contagious beforehand. At the beginning of the discussion, author Catherine Ryan Hyde joined us to discuss her book, Pay It Forward. Throughout her time in the session, she was able to explain her thought process behind Pay It Forward and the effectiveness behind simple acts of kindness, as well as answering questions from the audience. Next, we spent the remainder of the time following discussion questions on the relationship between kindness and mental health. With a diverse group of ages, we were able to listen to members of the Burlingame community, as well as cultivate a positive discussion on the topic of mental health.
This year, we attended YAC Attack, a biennial team leadership conference in which YACs around the peninsula come together to experience various workshops, seminars, and speakers. We got to attend various events hosted by teens on other YACs, covering a broad range of topics, from social media to the power of art. This time around, we were given the opportunity to host a workshop of our own. Inspired by our mental health initiative and prior movie discussion, we delivered a presentation on mindfulness and posed questions for teens to discuss while they crafted macaroni necklaces. Our goal was to create a relaxed environment where teens could reflect with each other on the importance of mental health.
Last year, we removed invasive ivy from over 80 trees as part of our Mills Canyon beautification event. This was part of our green initiative last year, and to continue that this year and hopefully making it something that we can do annually as a YAC group and maybe including the public, we had a second cleanup on Mills Canyon on the 23rd, and we're looking forward to continuing our involvement in the environment beautification as part of our initiative continuing in the next few years.
As you know, our initiative this year has been teen mental health. The events we've been hosting have been focused on spreading awareness and the importance of mental health to the community. During the movie discussion, we were able to talk about how kindness affects mental health. The Therapy in the Park event helped people de-stress and relax their mind by being outside. One of the events we did last year was Eggtober, and it was really successful, so we did it again. In the future, we hope to continue having it each year.
Our last slide is just a little blurb kind of talking about why we love YAC. I think as a team, we can all agree that this community-oriented really excels at bringing together youth, teens, and adults alike. And I think aside from our initiatives It's reassuring to know how reliable and driven our team is to make a positive impact in the community, as you guys have seen in our previous events and in this presentation. And as someone who's been part of YAC for a few years already, I really believe that YAC is one of the best ways for teens to get involved and implement initiatives that we all believe can truly benefit everyone. And our last slide is just questions and comments. Thank you all for listening and joining us today.
I just want to start and say I'm always very impressed when you guys show up to our meetings and tell us everything you're doing. But wow, this time I'm doubly impressed. I think that your mental health initiative is very timely, and it's hard to tell what the effect you have on your fellow teens, but it's huge. And I think that's great that you're doing that. And I thank you very much. That is a great initiative. I think you guys did it just right. So congratulations. That was wonderful. Councilmember Beach, I see you have some comments.
No, I just want to echo you, Mr. Mayor. I think the mental health initiative is such a critical issue, particularly among our youth, but I love how you delivered awareness through other vehicles. So, whether it was, Therapuppy in the park, but talking about movies or books, art, even going to Mills Canyon, if you think about it, being out in nature is a great way to improve mindset and mental health. And it's just bravo for really delivering the message, boosting awareness, and doing it in fun and interesting ways too. So just applaud all of you. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Vice Mayor Brownrigg.
Well, dittos to that. I also just want to personally thank you guys because, my family and I walk in Mills Canyon at least a couple times a month. So thank you for that. I hope that kindness is contagious. I certainly try to live that way. I wish it were a little more contagious, frankly. Maybe we can get a version that's even more catchy. I hope so. Certainly your work helps. But then I want to finish with a question, which is I likewise really think that you're onto something by focusing on teen mental health after COVID. I have kids your age, so it means a lot to me personally. I wonder if you think there's anything more the city or the rec center could be doing. We do have a beautiful new rec center that we're going to be opening up. What is there anything? It's a bit unfair to put you on the spot like that, but are there things the city could be doing, do you think, to help to bolster YAC and other efforts like that?
Yackers, who wants to answer the Vice Mayor? Sylvie.
Well, thank you for bringing this to our attention. I think that mental health is definitely an issue today that is very relevant and needs much more coverage. Any events that you can hold to make people feel less isolated in the community, not just our teens, but even our seniors as well, who with the pandemic and the health risks have been all the more isolated. I think this is a great, the city has this ability to bring this to attention, and any events you can put on would be such appreciated by everyone.
Wow. Nice.
Thank you, Sylvie.
Councilmember O'Brien.
Thank you through the mayor. Thank you, Sylvie, actually for your insight and especially bringing up older adults in the city of Burlingame now that we're an age-friendly city. And I think the mental health initiative is a very, very good one. I worked in mental health for many years in the past. And so, considering, everything that people have gone through with COVID and the increased cases of anxiety and depression, it's important to really increase that awareness. And I thank you all for all your time and effort in implementing a program that will be quite beneficial, to the city of Burlingame. So thank you for all your work. It's greatly appreciated.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember O'Brien. Councilmember Colson.
Thank you. Yes, it's been really fun to watch you guys work over this last year and see all the imaginative and creative things. Love the puppy therapy. Maybe one day they'll have kitten therapy. We can be equal animal opportunity people. It's awesome. I love that you guys are so creative and thoughtful. Are all of you coming back next year, or are you guys graduating? Is it? I'm just kind of curious if we're going to continue through the summer and through next year.
So why don't you raise your hand if you're coming back next year?
Coming back next year? Oh, good. Okay. So there's a few of you. Great. Well, I hope regardless, if you're coming back, look forward to seeing you. And if you guys are around and can meet us in person, we are having at 3:30 p.m. sort of after school's out on June 15th. It's a Wednesday, the opening of the community center. I know that the staff has probably invited you all, but it would be a real pleasure to meet you all in person. So I hope you can join us there so we can thank you face to face.
Yeah, thank you for that. That's a great idea. Yeah, I'd love to meet you guys also. Anyway, thank you very much. Again, you guys always blow us away with your presentation. This time you did a triple. So great initiative. Continue your hard work, and we'll see you guys on June 15th. So thank you. Good night, guys. Wow, that was a good one. So let's see. The city clerk is going to have to big one to follow here. So now we have a presentation on Generation Voter, and I'm going to introduce our city clerk, Megan Hasselshare, who knows a thing or two about elections.
Yes, so just a brief introduction while I get Ella and Ava on the screen. I had the great fortune of meeting Ella at the November 2020 election. She was one of the brave souls that came out during the height of the pandemic to help us ensure that everyone had access to a polling place. And luckily for me, she was a little bit of a kindred spirit and was just as into elections as I was. And then I had the great fortune of meeting her little sister, Ava, and who is a very talented person as well with graphics. So we came up with a project, and I want them to talk to you all about what they're doing for the city.
Thank you so much, Megan. Can I mind if I share my screen?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We're super excited to be presenting today. I'm Ava Geary.
And I'm Ella Geary, and we are both interns for the city clerk. And our project is Generation Voter. So Generation Voter is a youth voter initiative that originated about 6 months ago when we were talking with the city clerk about how a lot of our friends want to be involved in elections but don't know how. So this initial idea evolved into 3 parts. Our first part is our website. Our second is our social media campaign. And our third is community engagement.
So before we get into our 3 parts, we wanted to share a bit more about what drives us and what the mission of this project is. Our mission statement is Generation Voters' mission is to be an entry point for young voters to access education about elections, voting, and government. Gen V is the next generation of informed young voters, making an impact on a local and national level for a brighter future. The youth vote is an especially important issue to us because in the most recent presidential election, and this has been a consistent pattern, the voter turnout for youth ages 18 to 24 was 15 percentage points below the total average voter turnout. Plus, voting can be habit forming like anything, so it's really important to start that practice young. Our project goes beyond voting too. Many people are familiar with the slogan, if you don't vote, you don't count. But for our project, we wanted to reimagine that message and make it more inclusive. So our slogan is make your voice matter, because those who can't vote can still make a difference. 16-year-olds can pre-register to vote, they can volunteer. The city clerk will be encouraging middle schoolers to design I voted stickers. And so sharing all of those options is really central to our project.
So as I mentioned before, our first part of our project is our website. So our website is the hub of all information you're going to need about elections and voting. This site can be found on the city clerk's portion of the City of Burlingame's website. It is still a work in progress. It will be completed by the November election. I will be continuing to work with Megan over the summer. So this will be one of my main projects, is finishing the site as well as updating it. I want to give a little shout out to Ava. All these graphics you're going to see now have been designed by her. So we have 6 sections to our site. Our first section is the vote section.
Here you will find information on how to register to vote, how to track your ballot, and what are the differences between in-person and mail-in voting, and things like that. Our second section is Election 101. Here you will find the information on the nitty-gritty of elections. So we have key definitions such as caucuses, primaries, redistricting. We'll also have information on campaign finances. Our third section is current elections. Here you will find the most up-to-date information on what elections are happening next and how to research candidates and research measures.
The next section is Get Involved, which is a subpage with links and information about internships, working for city officials. We are a nonpartisan project, so we're not biased towards a political party. Poll working is another way for students to make a difference. And they can find out about that here.
Our next section is our blog. Here we will have some information on with interviews with local officials, some behind the scene sneak peeks on how elections are run on the local level. And I will also be updating this page during the summer.
And then our sixth section is just a very brief about us because this website is for teenagers by teenagers, so we wanted to share that. This is a screenshot of what the full website looks like with information. So as you can see, a lot of it is bolded or it's very concise so that the website is easy to cruise through. That was important to us. Yeah. The next pillar of our project is our social media campaigns that we can share timely updates and respond to events as they happen. So on the left, you'll see an example of a post that was quite recent because ballots were sent in the mail. And so this is just a reminder to our followers to check their mailboxes for their ballots. We also love humorous quotes and sayings about voting. And on the right, you'll see an example of educational information like how to get your ballot sent to college.
Our third pillar is community engagement, and this really took shape as voter registration drives at Burlingame High School. We hosted 2 drives, one in the fall and one in the spring. In total, we have registered 157 voters in a little over an hour. This shows how teens are so excited to get involved in our elections.
The last thing we want to talk about is our legacy because this project is bigger than the 2 of us and it's going to have a lasting impact. I say that because first of all, Generation Voter is fostering an enduring city to high school relationship with lines of communication. I'll be running our 3rd voter registration drive in the fall. Ella is going to college and I am a rising senior, but the website will stay up to date. So that's the second piece of this. Future city interns will ensure that it stays relevant and it doesn't get stale. And third, we're going to package a voter drive toolkits that we can franchise out the drives to other locations. So anyone in the state will be able to go online and access a digital toolkit for running a voter registration drive. Materials will include a thorough set of instructions with tips like choosing a location and talking to administrators, and sample graphics and flyers to get them started.
Thank you so much for listening to our presentation. We have a QR code here for our Instagram. We would love for you to join us there. And here's also a QR code to our website. So thank you so much. We're open to any comments or questions.
Great. Thank you. That was a great presentation and that's a great project. Really, I just went on the website as you guys were talking and looked at it and you guys did a great job. My question was going to be, how are you going to keep it up? But I get that it would be with future interns, but otherwise you can't leave for college. You have to stay and continue to do it. Colleagues, any questions, any comments for our 2 presenters? I have Councilmember Colson.
2 things really quick. So first is, what is your Insta?
Yeah, Generation Voter.
Generation Voter. Okay, great. So we can follow it. And secondly, Megan, I just want to, well, to the young ladies, as a mother who's determined to make sure that her daughters vote. I really appreciate this because it's really helpful when it's not your mom telling you to vote all the time or your parent. So peer pressure is really like wonderful. And I love that you've got the way for them to capture this when they're going off to college. I'm really happy you're going to continue it. And I'm just super proud of the work you girls and ladies have done. I might also suggest that some other nonpartisan groups, you guys could put some links on to like the League of Women Voters, which I think is a wonderful organization for young voters to join that has great information and help. It's bipartisan as well, or nonpartisan, I should say, nonpartisan. So thank you for introducing people to all that. And then Megan, thank you for taking the time. It's not easy to run an internship program. It takes a lot of time, and it's kind of an extra bonus that goes on your job. And one of the things I think that we as a city recognize the extra work that you do and the extra steps that you take to make voting as robust as it can be in Burlingame. I think this could be a really amazing model for maybe some other internship type programs throughout the city. I'm sure Lisa's probably having a heart attack right now saying that, but I just hope that maybe we can take this model and maybe there's some other ways that we can engage our youth and bringing in more internship type ideas. But thank you, Ava and Ella. Really appreciate it. And good luck in college.
Thank you, Councilmember Colson. Councilmember Beach.
Bravo to our interns, just amazing work. I'll bet you there's going to be a lot of adults that get on this web link to have a tutorial on how all this works, because sometimes just to have an angle of just really approachable language and fun graphics, it just makes it digestible. And I think that addition that you brought is going to be a great resource to young people and older people alike. So bravo. And I love that you're publishing a toolkit for voter registration for other communities to learn from. That is amazing and awesome. And bravo for registering 157 voters. That's fantastic. Those are lifelong habits. And you're right. We build that muscle memory early and it stays with us. So thank you so much for your efforts.
Thank you, Councilmember O'Brien.
I would just like to thank the two of you. You've done a fantastic job. I'm looking at it on my big screen, so it just looks great. And I do like that toolkit idea. So I'm hoping that all the rest of the cities in the peninsula kind of follow your lead. And a big thank you to Megan, our city clerk, who's helped shepherd you along the way. And now you can take charge of this website and I'm sure you're going to get a lot of views on this. So terrific job and thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, Councilmember Vice Mayor Brownrigg.
And just to put a bow on it, I couldn't agree more. If you guys can crack the code and figure out how to get your demographic to vote, the whole country will be better off. So I hope there is nothing but wind at your back and a clear path ahead. And thank you for the work.
Yeah, so thank you very much. And Megan, thank you, because you are sharing your passion with them, and you can see that it is infectious. So thank you all. Thank you for the great presentation, and thank you for all the work you do. And good luck in college, Ella.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Okay.
Thank you.
How do we recover from that? Those were two fabulous presentations, so thank you. And with that, we will move on to item number 7, which is public comment. This is for items that are not on the agenda, and I will pass it on to our city clerk.
We don't have any emails. Let me check one more time. Well, yes, I do have one. Oh, no, I don't. That's for a consent item. But there is one hand up. So, Lindsay.
Good evening. Hi there. I spoke at the last city council meeting, and I'm returning again tonight to encourage you once again. First, let me introduce myself. My name's Lindsay Reich, and I'm the president of Warm Water Wellness, a newly formed nonprofit. We're a group of former Mickelson therapy pool users who are exhausted, and we've been at this for a year now, 24 months, or no more than 20, over 2 years now that the pool has been closed, and 1 year since, initially it was closed for COVID. And 1 year since we're coming up on the 1 year anniversary that I created a petition that now has we're almost up to 5,000 signatures. So there's a ton of support in the community. We've recently had success with Assembly Member Mullen, State Senator Josh Becker. Resolutions have been passed by the Board of the County, the Board of Supervisors, the City of Millbrae, and the Sequoia Healthcare District. And I'm just here to encourage you to please put this on your agenda and join with the other cities to support us. Aquatic therapy pools are not the same as recreational pools. I mentioned this last time. My partner he's a spinal cord injury. I am just watching him wither away. He is, and this is all every day. He says, I have to get back to the pool. I mean, it is beyond heartbreaking. I have an art therapy practice where I support individuals with chronic pain. I have mothers of children with special needs who are in tears regularly because they have to go to San Francisco or San Jose to get their children the care they need. There is no other facility like this one. I know that there was a comment after I spoke last time about a letter that you sent early on, and I and my group sincerely appreciates that you were one of the first to do that, to send a letter. I just wanted to clarify that letter, early on, we've been learning along the way. I mean, we asked for letters to be directed, to be addressed to Mills Peninsula CEO Janet Wagner, and that's who your letter was addressed to. She is probably literally throwing them in the trash. She's at a January 2022 meeting. She said at a Peninsula Healthcare District meeting in January, she said that she is not the final decision maker, that complaints need to be addressed to Sutter Health Interim CEO James Conforti. He is the one, and the Sutter corporate board. They're the ones that need to hear this, and a resolution carries so much more weight than a letter. So I just ask that you please consider a resolution rather than a letter. It's a more formal document. That's how Supervisor David Canepa explained it to me when I asked him the same question. I said, what's the difference between a letter and a resolution? And he reached out to us when the county voted on the resolution, and he said, let's do a resolution, not a letter. So if you could please make this a priority. This is a crisis in our community. We already know of one death. People have lost mobility and independence, and it's a mental health crisis as well. So please prioritize it.
And then I don't believe we have any other hands up, so we're good to go, Mr. Mayor.
Very good. Thank you. With that, we will move on to the consent calendar. I'm sorry. And with that, colleagues, anybody would like to pull any of the items on our consent agenda? And I don't see any hands raised, but I do believe there is a member of the public wanting to have one of the items pulled. So
yes, Manito has requested to comment on item 8E.
8E, very good. And do we have any other members of the public?
It does not look like we do.
Very good. So then I'll bring it back to my colleagues. Anybody would like to make a resolution for all items except 8E?
I'll make a motion to approve items 8A, B, C, D, F, G, and H.
I'll second that.
I have a motion by Councilmember O'Brien, a second by Councilmember Coulson. We could have a roll call, please.
Councilmember O'Brien? Yes.
Aye.
Councilmember Beach?
Yes.
Councilmember Coulson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brownrigg?
Yes.
Mayor Ortiz?
Yes. And with that, we'll move on to item 8E, and I believe this would be our Director of Public Works, Mr. Martuzzi.
Why don't I read the comment first?
Okay, please.
Then, so this is from Manito, and he states, good evening, Mr. Mayor, Honorable Council. Congratulations on securing this $400,000 grant from MTC. For clarity, I'm hoping to hear the limits of the grant for the 3 streets listed on 8E. My understanding is that on Murchison, bike lanes are going to be added in both directions from California Drive to Mills High School. That's 3 blocks. And that on Truesdale, bike lanes are going to be added in both directions, but only from California to Franklin Elementary, about 7 blocks. And for Davis, no actual bike lanes will be painted. Is this all correct? Second, it's unfortunate that the striping changes are coming after these streets were just paved barely a couple years ago. Murchison and Davis were both paved in 2019, Truesdale in 2020. The pavement is still smooth, but now the stripes that were installed then will now need to be grinded out to be replaced with new. It's too late for these streets, but the hope is that the city is looking ahead on future projects 2 to 3 years out to take advantage of paving projects for efficiency. It would have saved hundreds of thousands of dollars in effort. Third, it would also be helpful to clarify that the budget just for these 3 streets is $1 million. That sounds tremendously high given the scope. I hope the cost can be reviewed closely and negotiated down. Bike lanes should not be costing us 7 digits. Lastly, Murchison is a boundary street with Millbrae. We know that Millbrae already installed a bike lane on their half. Should there not be a cost sharing arrangement so that they're responsible for half of the improvement for that street? And that is his email.
Great, thank you, Madam City Clerk, and Mr. Mertusa. Then I will pass it on to you to tell us a little bit about what this item is and what the maybe an answer to some of the questions he raised.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Council. This is essentially a Metropolitan Transportation Commission grant in the amount of $400,000. The staff had applied for this grant, and the streets that were picked for this grant were identified as part of the bike ped master plan that was approved in 2020. And the estimated amount of this project is totally $1,025,000, and obviously $400,000 will be coming from the Transportation Development Act Article 3 grant funds. And the scope of these projects were identified as part of the bike ped master plan, essentially to have a separated bike facility, buffered or separated bike facility on Murchison Drive, and similarly on Truesdale Drive, and a class 3 facility on Davis Drive. The project limits, as mentioned by Mr. Velasco, I believe are more or less accurate. I have to verify exactly the details. The scope of the projects have not been finalized because we have the bike ped master plan guiding that effort, and the grant amount will be used to do the improvements as shown, the limits per the bike ped master plan. The projects were not implemented when we did the striping a few years ago, because the bike ped plan was in the mix. It was in the development stage, and the recommendations were not final, and the council had not approved the plan. And had we done the improvements at the time, then we would have done essentially a bypassing of the public process and bypassing the bike ped master plan. So we did not do the cart before the horse approach. So we have the bike ped plan, and now we are going and implementing one by one as part of that effort. Now, with regards to the project cost sharing with Millbrae, the improvements that we are looking at will be primarily in Burlingame, and I don't know whether any improvements would be done in Millbrae as part of this plan, but we will take a look at it and determine. And additionally, as part of this process, development of these project plans, we will look at to see what costs can be saved, and any funds saved would be essentially would be returned back to the grant in a proportionate manner. And similarly, less money would be matching funds from the city. Those are my responses to comments. I don't know if there were other questions that I did not capture.
Colleagues, anybody have any questions for our director? Councilmember O'Brien.
Yes, may not be really a question per se, but it's sometimes hard to get the timing right because you don't always know when these grants are offered. and when they're offered. So it's kind of a guessing game for Public Works. Would you agree with that, Director?
Yeah, Councilmember O'Brien, that is correct. And as part of that effort, when we resurfaced Truesdale as well as the Murchison, we used the paint as opposed to thermoplastic so that it's easier to remove and replace if we were to do a bike project. So that's what we try to reduce the cost to the city by painting it, which is simply much easier to remove it as opposed to thermoplastic. So, but overall, you're absolutely right. If we were to do a project, and also the grant funding could be again, one of the major concern we had before having a bike ped plan was we used to apply for projects and then we would not have funding, we would not get grants because again, we did not have a well thought out, planned bike ped improvements, which we have now, and it's much easier to apply for the grants. And also we have a greater probability of receiving grants, and we have this in this instance, as you see. And similarly, previously, California Drive also received $600,000 grant, I believe, last year. So their city has been receiving grants because we have a bike ped plan, and we just have to coordinate the timing the best we can.
Thank you, Mr. Murtuza. Vice Mayor Brownrigg.
Thank you very much. I think, we always try to sequence, and yet, we can't let the best be the enemy of the good. So that, I think, is understandable, the sequencing issue that Mr. Velasco raised. The issue of just spending too much on doing the work. Mr. Velasco does have domain expertise, and nobody wants to squander money. So can you just reassure me? I mean, any bid that we get is a competitive bid, right? We are going out to the market and always getting people in the market to bid these projects. Am I right?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. That is absolutely right. When the project plans are designed, you go out to public bidding. The most competitive contractors will be awarded the project, provided they're qualified, and then also during the project itself, there are opportunities to save money. Staff goes out and makes those determination, and things are implemented as a result.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam City Clerk, I'm going to open it back to make sure there's no additional comments from the public.
I don't see any hand raised, and I don't have any emails.
Very good. And so I will bring it back to my colleagues. But first, I want to say thank you, Mr. Murtuza. I know that sometimes it can be frustrating to be frequently second guessed and questioned, and I appreciate your comments. That was very helpful. And with that, colleagues, I'll bring it to you. Anybody would like to make a final comment or make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Motion to approve item, I guess, what is it here? Is it E?
8E.
8E, the resolution authorizing the request to the MTC for the allocation of the Transportation Development Act. Pedestrian.
We have I'm sorry.
Yeah,
motion by Councilmember Coulson, a second by Councilmember O'Brien. With that, we'll have roll call, please.
Councilmember O'Brien.
Aye.
Councilmember Beach.
Yes.
Councilmember Coulson.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brownrigg.
Yes.
Mayor Ortiz.
Yes. Thank you for that. And now we will move on to item number 10A, which is adoption of a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a 3-year service agreement for information technology managed services from Eaton Associates with an option to extend the agreement as needed. I asked to put this on the regular agenda so that we could, I think it's a very important item, and I think we all need to be clear of where we're going with our IT, and so I will pass it on to our city manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I'm sorry.
I'm going to direct it right over to our finance director, Helen New Scott.
Like I said, we're passing it on to our finance director, Ms. Yu Scott.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor, Council member. Before you tonight is the agreement for information technology managed service or IT services. The city of Burlingame has a contract with City of Redwood City for IT services since 1998. In August 2021, Redwood City's IT staff indicated that they no longer able to continue provide IT service to the city due to their staff shortage. They have retirement come up, and then they don't want to engage themselves in long-term pension liability, so they decide to withdraw from such services. In November, the city contract with managing partner to assist with the RFP process. The city received 8 proposals and interviewed 4 potential vendors. Here we are tonight to recommend Eden and Associate for the City Council approval. Before I wrap up my report, I want to take this opportunity to thank all the IT committee members for their contribution during this RFP process. They are representing 7 departments and 9 divisions. I will call their name out. If I pronounce that name wrong, excuse me. They are Community Development Planning Division, Connie Rim, and Community Development Building Division, Rick Carroll, and the Building Division, Veronica Flores, and the Finance Department, Oscar Herrera, and then HR Department, Sonia Morrison, and Library Department, Jeff McLeek, Park Rec and Karen Hager, and the Police Department, Rhonda Ken, and the Public Work Copyard, Kevin Dundee, and the Lillian Cifuentes, and the Public Work Engineer Division, and Victor Wang, and as well as the Redwood City team, Jesus Reyna, Michael Sheena, and Tony Grafferman. Sorry if I pronounced the name wrong. Last but not least, a very special thanks to our RFP consultant, Joan Shoney from Manager Partner for getting us through this long process. Her experience, expertise, and professionalism and get us to this positive outcome. So along the process, she also helped us identify area, for IT related for room for improvement. Without her, we cannot get where we are today. I really appreciate, Joan, your help for the city. That's where we conclude my staff report. We have June here, and as well as John Eden and Mohammed Salabi from Eden Associate. And then we also have our Michael Sheena from Redwood City, our current provider here, to answer any question you might have for the staff report or the agreement. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Director. Colleagues, anybody have any questions for the director or for our guests here tonight? And the Council Member Beach, please.
Thank you for the overview, Director Scott, and Joan. Thank you for being a consultant on this. It's such a huge task and really needs expertise. So I think that was really great foresight that Director Scott had to hire you and bring you on board. So thank you. Could you just speak to a little bit about something we're all concerned about, cybersecurity? Can you just give us and the members of the public any insight about how you're thinking about network security, or any changes, or anything particular you'd like to highlight in this next contract of how we're approaching it?
Sorry. So one of the things the entire group, and as part of their evaluation, was cybersecurity, network security was an important part. And when they were evaluating any of the providers, that was a big interest of everybody. Eaton and Associates has a wide breadth of experience that I think could help the city to make sure. One of the things, the first thing they're going to do is a security assessment to identify any areas that there could be potential weakness. Redwood City has good solutions in place for the city currently, but annually, you always want to have a security assessment done to see if there's any potential harms or where improvements could be made. One of the additional initiatives that Eaton and Associates has added to the agreement is the ability to have a logging system that'll take all the logs and be able to be more proactive in monitoring what's going on the city's network, which is, I think, something that really needed to be improved upon. So I think from that perspective, getting the oversight and having put in a plan, there's some policies that Helen has asked that we look at to make sure that the policies will protect the city and make sure that the Eaton Associates, the provider, will know what the city's requirements are. But yeah, cybersecurity is very important. The firewall, in the logging, I think are really important to be able to know, so the city is warned whenever possible about potential threats.
Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you, Ms. Schoening. Councilmember Colson.
I think the mayor and I, as two people who sit on the audit committee, and I know that really has to do with finances, but it's the same sort of thinking around auditing our cybersecurity. And so I'm just curious, how will you present like annually reports? Do we get annual reports of, what's going on? This is what you saw, trends, anything? Does it feed into our regular audit? Is there any mechanism, or what's the report back mechanism?
Great question.
John, does your group want to talk about the reporting that you're going to provide for them?
Mohammed here. I'm happy to take this one on. So we actually do these audits or reports on quarterly basis, where we do both internal and external penetration testing and vulnerability scans on anything that's internet facing, but also anything within the network itself. To Joan's point, we also collect and gather all of these logs to be centrally managed and collected, and also be able to receive alerts on specific type of logs that may hint at a potential cybersecurity risk. The reports will be formulated and shared with the point of contact. And then from that point, the point of contact can then disseminate it across the different city council members, or in any platform that is shared across the entire organization.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. And that was a great question, Councilmember Colson. Thank you.
If I could just add, Helen also has worked with the risk group, and they have the ability to have outside audits done as well. If Helen's still on, she could address
Yeah, she has
that.
her hand raised, actually. I was
Yeah,
gonna call on her.
Okay, good.
Go ahead, Helen.
Yeah, so actually this year, our general liability insurance company, La Plan, they also partnership with a vendor to do the cybersecurity audit for all the member agencies. So that kind of part, the check and balance, we have a provider Eden to help their support. At the same time, we have the outsider third party also do this audit. We can compare notes, kind of really ensure our security. Cybersecurity in place.
What is the frequency of those reports?
So I believe currently they just are starting the engagement is an annually basis, but I guess we can have a conversation during our board meeting if needed, as required more frequent as possible. But I think currently it's annually.
Great, and I'm hoping that will be shared with us and made part of one of our agendas, because I think that would be very important. Colleagues, any other questions? I think this is great, and I'm glad that you guys were here to present, and thank you, Mohammed, for your comments. So colleagues, any other questions? And having none, then we will open it to members of the public and see if any members of the public have any questions about our new contract.
I don't have any emails, and I'm not seeing a hand up. So it looks like we're good to go.
Very good. Okay, so just back to my colleagues, this is an important item because we are changing from our old provider to the new one, and it's important that we all, I mean, I'm glad I heard what I heard today. It made me feel a lot better I'll probably sleep better tonight. So with that, colleagues, any final comments, or if somebody would like to make a motion, we can move on.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt the resolution that authorizes the city manager to execute this new 3-year service agreement for IT services from Eaton Associates.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Beach and a second by Vice Mayor Brownrigg. And with that, we could have a roll call, please.
Councilmember O'Brien.
Aye.
Councilmember Beach.
Yes.
Councilmember Colson.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brownrigg.
Yes.
Mayor Ortiz.
Yes, thank you. And with that, thank you, Finance Director Scott, for your presentation. Thank you, Ms. Schoening, for your contribution. And Mohammed, I don't know your last name, so I'm going to just say Mohammed. So, but thank you very much for you being here tonight to answer questions. And with that, we will move on. Thank you very much. Our next item is Item number 11, council committee activities, reports and announcements. So colleagues, this is for you guys if you have anything to report. And I'm not seeing any hands. So with that, I will move on to item 12, which is future agenda items. If there's anybody who would want to propose any future agenda items. Councilmember O'Brien, I'm sorry, I didn't see the hand.
Yes, I wanted to know if we could put on the future agenda item, the resolution for the pool in Simteo.
Absolutely, we'll second that one. So yes, we will do that. I see you see thumbs up. You have like 3 seconds on that one. So thank you. Councilmember Colson, did you have something else?
Nope, I agree with that. I'm delighted we're going to put that on. I want to support these people the best we can.
Yeah, very, very good. I totally agree. So with that, we have acknowledgements, the agenda packets and meeting minutes for the Planning Commission, Traffic Safety and Parking Commission, Beautification Commissions, Parks and Recreation Commission, the Library Board of Trustees are available online at www.burlingame.org. Before I adjourn, colleagues, do we have anybody we want to remember? Councilmember Colson, please.
Thank you. So this caught my eye one day, and I am not sure if all of you recall, if you had your children in public school, Rudy Benton, Mr. Benton, and he used to do the really cute, he'd take the kids and he was all about physical education and PE, and he would make these fun videos and movies. I know my girls participated in them, and he was just a really beloved elementary school PE teacher here. And it turned out, I didn't realize that Mr. B had passed away on July 30th, 2021 during COVID at 84. But I noticed that they are going to be holding a celebration of life and his teaching at San Pedro Valley Park on Sunday, June 5th from 11 to 4 p.m. And you can join for games, music, dancing, and a Mr. B button. If you want to attend, they're asking that you RSVP to his wife, and his wife's email is his former email, which is rudybenton1@gmail.com.
Thank you for that, Councilmember Colson. And then in honor of Mr. B, let's have a minute of silence before we adjourn. And thank you all. With that, we are adjourned. Thank you very much. Good night.